Okay, you guys, this is a real case study of how I am working with a current client for a couple months now. He's 38 years old. His name we'll say is John, and he is a high functioning person with dealing with really bad IBS. And as many of you know, it affects a lot of us and it can really sort of ruin your life. And it only gets worse. It's not going to go away or get better unless you figure out what's causing it and do something about it. And IBS is like a catch all for a lot of different issues going on. And there is no one diet. And mainly people are looking at FODMAP these days, a low FODMAP diet, which is taking out a certain kind of sugar and oligosaccharide fructans. It doesn't work for most of the cases, especially after rifaximin, neomycin, or during. You have to be looking at all these issues and be more personal. It just doesn't work. And I've probably worked with 600 cases now with FODMAP diet over the past 10 or so years, and worked with way more that it was before it was around. So, okay. His symptoms, IBS like symptoms, almost constant. He said diarrhea, bloating, cramps, constipation, and said he felt gross in the gut area, which we all know how that, most of us know. I felt it. I don't have IBS, but I definitely have had gut issues. He suspected food reactions, but wasn't sure what to, except a couple things that he knew set him off, like turkey, slow muscle recovery, tight muscles, tension, which is not usually associated with IBS, but it was part of it, it turns out. Overconsumption of alcohol, probably something to do with the tension, the tight muscles, and just all of it. He also had migraine headaches. So any kind of pain, you probably want to numb out a little bit. Also, brain fog, felt like he was requiring ADHD meds, and then they stopped working because he built a tolerance to them. So he had to keep increasing the dose. When you do that, it messes with your appetite and sleep and your nervous system and all kinds of stuff. So those were his symptoms. And his wife is a healthcare practitioner and referred him to me after he saw a couple doctors, which I'll get to in the next slide. Okay, his first doctor was a traditional doctor or GI, I'm not sure, who said everybody has it. Do the brat diet, which is bananas, rice, apples, and toast. Don't do that, you guys. It's going to make it so much worse. It will calm you down if you're nauseous sometimes, maybe, but I just wouldn't do it because you're specifically making things worse. Bananas and rice are super binding. So yeah, maybe if you have diarrhea, it'll bind things up, but apples and toast are probably going to send things the other direction. And it's not a solution. He was diagnosed with IBS from the first doctor, the more traditional, and the integrative doctor said, oh, you have leaky gut, and here's some supplements for leaky gut, and I want you to see my nutritionist. And his nutritionist, I don't know who she is, but typically they're less experienced when they just start working with another doctor versus private practice. And she just gave him a low FODMAP diet, and that was it. And his wife, luckily, I've worked with her in the past as a colleague, and we've shared patients, and she knew that I would really give him a plan and get a lot more personalized. So I'm grateful that she sent him to me, and I'm grateful that I knew how to help him. So the low FODMAP diet made him worse, and that happens in probably 75 and up % of the people who try it before they come to see me. Okay, these are the labs he showed up with, which is a basic chem panel. Decent, not as good as I would have done, but at least the integrative doctor did a lot of the stuff. What I saw from it as part of my initial evaluation is, and I had a micronutrient, but it wasn't that helpful to me, just because it didn't show a whole lot. It showed that I'll get to that in the next one, what his labs showed, but I ordered immediately a GI map stool test and Allotest 186 food antibody with spices, condiments, and a candida antibody test, so we could see how much those things are playing a part. A lot of people forget condiments and spices with IBS, and that is a killer, and it could be causing the issues. And then people think diet doesn't work. Also, when they do low FODMAP, they think that. All right, I'll move to the next one. Okay, so the labs the doctor had done, the blood panel was only a couple months old, so I just used that. It was slightly low in white blood cells, which tells me his body's fighting some kind of a chronic issue, and or low nutrients, which can come from not absorbing your nutrients and or not eating the right things. But I think he was eating relatively healthy, a lot of Asian food, decent amount of vegetables compared to most. So I feel like it was more the gut issues, but we're going to optimize his nutrition. He had very low hormones. Again, another thing that I see constantly, men with gut issues have very low testosterone and hormone issues. His is not very low. It's on the low end, but definitely you can see the yellow, low, low, low. His estradiol was low. He had low normal hormone binding globulin, and other hormones were okay. And his thyroid, a little normal, but a little low on the TSH. So we're going to keep an eye on that as we clean up the gut issues and make sure that there's nothing wrong there. I do want him to do a complete iron test because there was something missing, and his alk phos was very low, which again to me indicates low zinc, vitamin C, and those type of antioxidants, vitamin A probably. His protein slightly high, which is either poor digestion, need of digestive enzymes, and or not enough protein that he's absorbing or maybe not eating. Here's the low FODMAP that, you know what, I think I skipped a page. Give me a second. Yeah, here is the low FODMAP list from the nutritionist, and here is his actual food antibody results, which pink and yellow mean he's having a high reaction, and blue means a slight but a reaction. And he has a lot of reaction, you guys, and a lot of them are the foods that he was told to eat. So no wonder it exacerbated him. His candida part also showed that he had a good amount of yeast candida, which means a lot of these foods that are sugary, grains, rice, quinoa, oats, potatoes, they're all fruits, grapes, oranges. Some of them are moldy, yeasty. Most of them are feeding the candida though. So we don't want to do that. Hold on. Okay, I'm learning this program, so sorry, you guys. It's not going to be perfect. I don't know how to edit it either. Okay, this is back to his blood panel, which I already went over. So I'm going to go now to the GI map stool test. So he showed a lot of leaky gut stuff. Then I do the GI map. I was going to do it anyway to see what exactly is going on. I expected a decent amount of pathogens. He really doesn't have any yeast on that test, but it is systemic. It didn't grow, but this is a DNA test. So he does have candida. He did not have parasites or even too much opportunistic microbiome bacteria. He didn't have worms or major infections, even H. pylori. We didn't pick up any of that, which means it's mostly reliable when we don't see that stuff. Occasionally there's parasites that people pick up that are exotic, and there's more testing we can do for that. But I feel like this is the part that's important, and this is the bottom of the third page of the GI map test. And this is where we look at diet related mostly issues is what he has going on. Very high secretory IgA. Think of that as the gut immune system. It is completely off the charts. 5.2, 5.9, over 5,000 is about the highest that I see. I think I had one that was in the 7s or 8s, but that was the highest. This is really high. It means, think of it as the army men, like the white blood cells are for your body, secretory IgA is for your gut. So it is like really upset and trying to protect him and going after all these invaders. And what are these invaders? Anti-gliadin is one of them that we've tested for. I believe it is mainly gluten and also casein, which comes from dairy, similar opiate-like peptides that cause this kind of a reaction, and his body does not like it at all. I don't think most of our bodies do from these lab testing, but this is definitely very, very high, 3 times the high level, the normal high level. He should be under, like, I think it's 70 or 90, and way under. This eosinophil X, an antigliadin is a direct response to gluten, a protein in gluten. Eosinophil activation protein is another sort of protectant white blood cell reaction from your body. His eosinophils were also high, by the way, slightly high in his blood test, which I always look at as allergies and or parasites. There's no parasites on this test, but definitely his immune system is going crazy, and mostly it's because of gluten and the food reactions. Zonulin is on here. I always add the zonulin. It's an extra like $100, but it doesn't matter. You need to add it so you can look for the tight junctions, how bad they are. His is very bad. This is a very bad. I can tell that he feels bad, but he's still not. He's like right on the edge, and here's why. His calprotectin is not too high. Calprotectin usually can help us see IBD from IBS, and when someone's calprotectin, I had one 2 weeks ago, is off the charts, that is usually something more serious, like diverticulitis, Crohn's, polyps. It could even be cancer if other markers are there in other tests. So he's not there yet. So I know that with diet in another 3 to 6 months, and I would probably give him 6 on the diet unless he needs it to show progress, to stay motivated. All the things will calm down, and this will all go down. And this is a great way to know if you're staying on your diet or not. And your body will tell you with how you feel. But okay, that's it for this one. We'll move on to the next one. This is just a little bit of out of balance bacteria that he had. His labs were really pretty good. And then this is written what I just said about secretory IgA, zonulin. If you want those notes, you could screenshot this, or I don't know, however you do that. But this is the same thing, and the GI map again. This one are the interventions and the diet changes that I made. My personalized plan for John after reading these tests in the food area, we cleaned up his diet. No low FODMAP. I threw that out the window because it was useless. Not even a good starting point. If you're going to give someone a starting point, give them meats and vegetables at first, or protein shakes or soups. Like, pare it down, you guys. Don't do the brat diet, and don't do the FODMAP to start. You're better off on a low candida or an anti-candida diet for IBS, and no gluten, no dairy. Most important things. I would say, sorry guys, 25% of my clients, just taking away gluten and dairy actually helps, and then they don't need to do too much more. All right, so No reactive foods from the food list, 2 and up, and the ones we alternate them. Gave him a list of his personal non-reactive foods by macro groups, focusing on protein, veggies, healthy fats, some low sugar carbs and spices. And we start where the person is, right? Start where you are, what works for you, and we will expand your food list out from there. Focus on what foods to eat. Don't think about what you can't eat. Focus on your food list. Make a food list. I have an editable food form that myself and the client both work on. Add foods that work that you do not have a reaction to, and I'm pretty good at knowing which ones and which food families to try next. And then as we heal your gut, you can add more foods. As I said, you're not going to be this restricted forever. You might be off gluten and some sugar, high sugar foods, some other things for 6 months to a year, but you're not going to be deprived forever. These are just the foods that we cut out. You can read that list later. All these things cause leaky gut issues. Sugar, processed foods, high lectin, histamine foods, legumes, raw veggies. Most of you want to eat cooked veggies for now. Raw veggies are very hard to digest when you have gut issues, so do not eat them. The inflammatory seed and wheat oils and alcohol. You're going to have to be off it for a while. And if you can't, then there's another issue you might want to work on. I'll make another video on that, or you can ask me. I have an editable food reaction tracker, as I said, and an editable supplement form that we both have in the app that we can both work on. I give him my tools for meal planning, foods to eat, recipes for macro-based meals using your foods. I have an app for that, protein sources, your mood and food tracker, and all of it should help you stay on track. I started him on supplements. I stopped all the ones he was taking because we got to rule out variables, and those go on a reaction list as well. And it's editable, so he can remove one, or I can make a note it didn't work or it did work. Like hydrochloric acid, betaine for digestion, made him worse. So we're going to cut that out, and we did. And I introduced another digestive enzyme. The first thing we're going to work on for him is constipation. We need to get things moving before we even start anything else. And constipation sometimes is what causes the diarrhea, believe it or not. Take away the cheese and the foods causing constipation, but also we have to do magnesium, usually a triphala, depending on what the problem is and what they tolerate. Triphala is an herb for fiber and stool bulk that's very mild and works very well for most people. We get his gut moving. We get peristalsis working. We heal the gut. I work on killing biofilms first before I even try to kill the candida or any pathogens. And I use single formula herbs, usually for somebody that's this reactive, because otherwise the supplements are going to make them feel terrible. So most doctors, I don't see thinking about this stuff. They just give them 20 supplements and have them start them all at once. Start your new supplements one at a time. Give yourself a couple days in between at least, so you know which one's bothering you if one is. I'm also giving them things to heal the gut when it's time, like we're taking time and dosage into consideration. And again, starting them one at a time. And then digestive support. He doesn't tolerate HCl, but most need the DPP4 enzyme for gluten, bile acid, and some proteolytic enzymes between meals to sort of eat up the garbage and get rid of the inflammation. Okay, that's all I have. Hopefully it makes sense and I did the technology right. And you guys can let me know if you have any questions or what your experience has been. Please share this if you found it helpful. Thanks a lot.